Welcome to Make It with Calvin's R&D Lab, where awesome items get made even more awesome. If you want to find out how I do that, I want to stick around. So, in this multi-part episode of Make It with Calvin, I'm going to be taking you guys through the process of how I'm going to take my pretty awesome GoPro rig, which has been stripped down for filming, and make it, well, even better. And what do I mean by better? Well, the original design, it worked. It served me and my friend Danielle great when we went flying over the bay in San Francisco along with our friend Rebecca and my good buddy Ken. Thanks again for taking us up, buddy. That really was awesome. And it worked. I mean, the only problem was when you were in the airplane, not a lot of room, believe it or not. So kind of had problems with the monitor bumping into things like that. Took it to the Maker Faire. This is what I originally designed it for, and it worked good. But the problem with it was kind of bulky and cumbersome after a while trying to run around with it. Then there was a time I took it out into the ocean with my friend Danielle and got super cold. And sure, it didn't have the LCD mount and it didn't have the battery mount underneath, but it also was a little bit cumbersome. Filmed in my sister's tiny house with it, and it worked really good for that. But the main point I'm trying to get at is, while the rig worked, in all the practical testing that I used it with, I figured out that there were a couple of things that probably could have been done a little bit better. So let's go jump on over to the design bench, and I'll show you guys a little bit of the process of how I went about redesigning it. Okay, here's more of a camera-friendly version of the rough sketches that I came up with for the modified GoPro handles. The big thing for me was I wanted to have where the camera was located physically set back about an inch and a half approximately. So that way I wouldn't have to worry about my knuckles getting in the shot, which was becoming a big issue when I'd film. I go, oh, this is a great shot. And I'd look at the footage and you could see my knuckles in the corner of the shot. And I'm just like, that's not cool. So what I've done is I've come up with two versions. Purely it's visuals. One of them has curved ends. The other one has an angled body. Now, one other thing that I've done differently on these is I've incorporated the GoPro snap mounts, which are like those quick release mounts that they came up with, versus the tripod mount. And the reason why is I figured having the snap mounts made my life easier in case I needed to switch out cameras in the field. And also it made the unit a lot lower profile. Now, one thing that you will notice is on the angled version, you do have a little bit less accessory space, if you will, which, you know, it's not a good thing, not a bad thing. I guess it all depends. The curved one obviously has a little more space. Really, all I used that for, quite honestly, was holding a battery pack, but I don't think it's a bad idea having that there in case you need to make feet to angle it or something like that. It gives you some advantages. So what I've done is I've already gone ahead and 3D printed up basic versions of each. And the angled one, somehow a fillet never got put on the back right here, but it's the rough version. So now what we're going to do is we're going to discuss some of the other changes to the rig and go from there. And here's kind of where the running revisions are going to come into play. One of them is, obviously, and I've discussed it, we're using the GoPro snap mount. I'm also going to come up with a design that includes a regular mount, so you can use a tripod mount. So you could use it with any old camera that you want, but I digress. The other big change is, instead of going ahead and gluing nuts into here, which to me was a little bit not the prettiest solution, I've decided that inside here you can put some expanding brass inserts that you can just heat up with a soldering iron or a torch and then just gently push in there. Something that's actually going to physically lock itself into the plastic and should provide a very, very rugged support. But the other thing is, because the camera has been set back, is I'm probably going to design a top plate that will have pretty much the geometry of the ruler, which is pretty much just straight across. The advantage of this is it gives me access to the buttons, but it also means that I have the monitor at a low level and it makes the rig more compact. I am also debating coming up with a version that is just filled all the way in with mounting points and things like that. So that way, if you wanted to just stick a handle here, stick a handle there, and run around with a monitor right here, you could do that. So that's kind of the beauty of this new design, is it really lends itself to becoming an extremely compact filming rig without losing any of the functionality that the original one had. And the other nice part is it's so easy and cheap to print. You could make a couple of versions, and with the snap mount, keep them in your backpack, and when you need to change to a different rig, snap the camera in, plug everything in and go. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Sorry if the format was a little bit different than before. It's just this was the easiest way to film the episode. And if you enjoyed it, please let me know. In part 2 of this, we're actually going to print out the parts. I'm going to have the things that did not get designed for this portion designed, and then we can go ahead and discuss the electronics and any modifications we can make to make this even more compact and even more awesome. See you guys next time here on Make It with Calvin, where I'm the talking head that you can't see, which is kind of creepy actually.